How we doing today?
I'm doing good. Even better now that I got this cool intro.
Yeah, there you go. Right, get you pumped up, gets the rock music going. So yeah,
Like
absolutely, man.
it's my walk up to the plate music.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, we know you're going to hit it out of the park today. I don't have too many sports analogies, as Eric knows, so I had to use them when I can. So
that was pretty good, though. That was good.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Appreciate it. So cool. Well, hey, if you are new to the show, this is a show that's all about business coaching. And it's designed for business coaches or people that are thinking about becoming business coaches. And Eric, we've got, I think, a topic that comes up a lot as I've been, chatting with you about you growing your coaching business and bringing on new coaches. One of the struggles that people have is, hey, I've thought about it. I want to take the first step to do it, but I've got a full-time job, right? So you got the struggle of I'm trying to build up my business coaching business and I still have to put food on the table, right? I got a mortgage and everything else. So how do I balance those two? And that can be really challenging. So that's what we're talking about today is kind of how to move from, your full-time job into business coaching and how do you work through that balance. So let's just start off with Eric. How common is this with new coaches that you work with?
I would say it's becoming more and more common all the time. More specifically, I would say that 50% of the people that are looking to get into the coaching space are either just moving out of a full-time career and or are currently in a full-time career and are planning to set themselves up to move out in the coming 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I knew it was common and it was quite 50%, but that makes a lot of sense, right? And I think generationally, we see more and more people that are looking for kind of different, career paths and, sick of the corporate 9 to 5 kind of thing, or, hey, I want more flexibility. I want more hybrid, remote, right? All those sorts of things. They look at business coaching as a way to achieve that, but they're not sure how to get there. So if you've got somebody that's watching this or listening and they're in that situation, what kind of advice would you give them? What's maybe the first step of, kind of getting into business coaching and kind of breaking out of that 9 to 5 rut?
Very carefully.
Yeah, for sure. Well said.
No, honestly, there's a number of considerations, and actually, I personally went through this during the transition. I started planning this to become a life coach initially, back in 2014. I think is when I really started my research and kind of determining what it was going to take and what I need to do to prepare myself. But I will tell you, there's a lot of things that I wish I had done differently in retrospect. So to that point, that's a lot of value that we bring to the table when people come to us and say, hey, look, I'd like to move on and become a business coach. I will tell you that we have tried to provide programs where, we'll generate the leads for you so you can slowly make that transition. That's challenging. It's feasible, but it's challenging, particularly if you are not in a position where you can begin to introduce yourself as a coach outside of your professional environment, right? That's probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks that really exists when you're trying to transition from your full-time career to, this, and particularly if you want to, for all intents and purposes, replace your income before you make the transition, right? Yeah. Which is, again, feasible, but more challenging. And so at some point, you either determine, okay, this is my leaping off point and I'm close enough, I can go. Maybe they've saved up some money in the process or something like that. Or it is feasible to get to the point where you've exceeded your personal income, depending on, where you're at, what your expectations are, to make that transition. But those are conversations, quite honestly, David, that really need to be had before you kind of embark on this. And that's another reason why we've made this pivot at My Biz Coach, is to begin to offer a program that helps people identify these things. Because there's conversations about income. There's conversations about time commitment. There's conversations about the types of clients you want to work with. What's your experience level? So all these different conversations really need to be had and reflected on. So it's not even a conversation that you and I can have today, and you give me a handful of answers and I say, great, let's go do this. I think you honestly need to reflect on that a little bit. And it should be something you don't you don't take lightly. You really kind of dig into this and get some insight. So,
Yeah.
not to make it sound like it's a really overwhelming process, but literally just did a post today on LinkedIn, and they said that one of the 5 most common reasons why solopreneurs fail, one of which the top 2. The first one was spending too much time planning and not taking action. And then the second one was, which ironically seems like a counterintuitive to the first one, which is, or contrary to the first one, which is not spending enough time planning before starting.
Yeah.
So, there's there's a unique balance between the two, and, finding that unique balance is kind of important. But I think that too many people spend too much time focusing on the wrong things right before they go out and on their own, instead of doing the research that they should be doing. And that's where we come in and we help out with that research and some of those other things that they really need to consider and review before they jump out there and start this process.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to get your perspective on something too, right? And part of it might even be kind of squaring away things at the day job, right? So
Yeah.
have you delegated everything you could possibly delegate? Have you automated everything you could possibly automate? Are you, organized? Do you have a plan for when you're going to do that work? Because if you start dropping the ball there, right, you're jeopardizing your primary income source. So
Yep.
any thoughts or tips on that aspect of it?
Yeah, because everything that you just mentioned is everything you're going to need to do in your business if you plan on being successful.
Right. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
And if you don't have those skill sets to be organized, disciplined, structured, if those aren't typically skill sets that you currently harbor or utilize or take advantage of, then you will struggle on your own, right? Because it's even less, right? Today in the day job, likely you have some resources that you can leverage. You may have people. I'm going to assume that you're probably in a role where people report to you. That may or may not be the case, but often is the case. And or if you're in a let's say you're like a marketing analyst or you're a marketing graphic design person or something like that, decide you want to branch out on your own. Similar concept, right? And now you're going to do marketing solutions. But if you're already not disciplined with some of those references, like using your calendar on a regular basis, being able to effectively respond and communicate via email or text or phone or any of the above, and I'm making jest of it, but the reality is that I am often surprised how many people are out on their own are not good at any of one of those things. And even myself, who I believe I'm relatively good at most of those skill sets, go through periods of time where I'm like sucking at responding because I'm so busy with some other deliverables that I need to focus on, and I got behind, and then I got to catch up. And then you're almost like, sorry.
Yeah, right.
And you can only get away with that so many times before you start losing credibility with the people you interact with.
Yeah.
So so kind of going back to your question, the question is, what should you be doing? First and foremost, if you don't have your day job on lockdown, you're not ready to go start something on the side.
Yeah.
To answer your question very directly, I would 100% support that. And I know that's kind of where you were going with that question. You definitely have to be dialed in. You have to have, if you don't have people that are reporting to you that you're delegating effectively to, and you have the bandwidth, because even though you're doing it on your personal time, you and I both know that as key executives within organizations, it's never a 40-hour work week. Right. It's not always a 50-hour work week, but it's never a 40-hour work week. Sometimes it's a 30-hour work week. Sometimes you're able to delegate and you have a little bit more flexibility, but many times it's a 50-hour work week and you're putting in extra time that is pulling from somewhere. So if you don't have your day job on lock and you've got ways to get things done, then when you go to branch out on your own, even if you're doing 10 hours a week, which you could easily support maybe 2 clients on 10 hours a week and bring in an extra $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, something like that. Nothing really exciting, but it's enough to build that momentum and find you a way to a 6-figure income in the coaching space. But it has to start somewhere. And if you get 2 clients and then, you can't fulfill on those 2 clients, then you're going to have a hell of a time trying to expand that and grow that.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because I'm thinking, kind of worst case scenario is, to your point about, if you don't have your current day job locked down, right? You start failing there. Well, because of that, now you're diverting attention from, those two clients that you have. So you're
Right.
failing there. And then at the end of, 3 months, you lose your two clients and you lose your job because you sucked at both, right? And
Right.
that's like worst case scenario, right? So now not only are you unemployed, but now you don't even have your coaching business because you dropped the ball so bad you can't even get a referral, and you didn't get your processes dialed in. So yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. And it really, to your point, with the word you just used, you have your processes dialed in. You have to
Yeah,
take the time to build some systems and processes that will allow you to scale anything that you do. And quite honestly, ironically, this is one of the primary things that we coach to clients that we work with, is that, hey, your business is struggling because you're getting in the way, because you haven't taken the time to build some systems and processes that are more automated and require less you to get done. And
yeah,
when you do that, and you streamline the business, and you kind of break through the bottlenecks that have been created because you're trying to control everything, right? And so as an employee, if you're not in the role where you're able to do that effectively, or if you're not doing that effectively, you need to develop that skill set.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's an interesting point too. Is I'm sure everybody views like ideal scenario is in the first 3 months I get enough to replace my full-time income, and I've got all these clients coming in. I think sometimes that can be a curse because you grow too fast. It's a new skill set. You haven't developed, the approach, the process, even what those interactions look like. And now, you don't even know how to make it work, right? Now you're failing
Yeah.
other clients. So I don't know about you, but to me, it seems like maybe that, 2 to 3 clients a month, if you can swing it, doing that for a couple of months and then trying to, take on more, probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. If as we've done this with a handful of clients now, the thing that I've come to recognize, and going back to my own experience, if I had 2 or 3 clients in the very beginning, and I just had them while I maintained my full-time job, on the weekends and the evenings, an hour coaching session, an hour and a half coaching session would have been very manageable. And that would have been ideal to do that for some period of time. Two things. One, the steady and repeatable income that would have been coming in would have allowed me to invest in whatever it is I needed to invest in, CRMs and website design and stuff like that. So it's not coming all out of pocket, right? So it's coming out of the revenues of the business. So that's smart. Then in addition to that, as I've done that, to your point, for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, now maybe I add a fourth and a fifth. Well, now I'm getting much closer to whatever that income might be that I need to transition. You might get lucky and find that, we referenced this on, I think it was last week's call, or no, it was a few weeks ago. We talked about becoming a coach, and we talked about the potential of 6-figure clients.
Yeah.
Bigger companies are bringing on coaches for different facets of the business, or fractional roles, right? Fractional CRO or things like that. And you could get a 6-figure engagement. You think about it, an average chief revenue officer is $250,000 to $300,000 a year. If you can come in and do the same role fractionally, because they don't necessarily need a full-time chief revenue officer, depending on the size of the business. If you can come in and do that for $120,000 a year, $10,000 a month, I can tell you there's a lot of clients that would be very happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the benefit to the coach is that you could pick up 3 clients like that, make 360,000, and have a ton of flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, but kind of going back, the point is that if you, I was going to say is that I believe that the right timeline to make a transition, in my eyes, is on the low end 6 months, and that's probably too aggressive for my comfort, unless you had already a lot of things in place, to about a year. I think that a year is probably the ideal time frame. I think the longest is 18 months, because if you do it for much longer than that, now the problem is you've been doing it too long. It's starting to lose its luster, and either you're not doing it well enough, or you're not ambitious enough to really go out on your own and do your own thing.
Yeah.
So, and maybe it's just a side hustle. Maybe it's just a few clients and put some extra money in your pocket, and that's fine too. But knowing, again, this goes back to the first question about what are your expectations? What do you want to get out of this? What does this really look like for you? Is this a side hustle, or is this a full-time gig that you want to transition into?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're slightly older than I am and you're looking at retirement, and you're ready to step away from whatever day-to-day role you have, and a $6, $8, $10,000 a month income is more than sufficient for you to supplement your retirement as you kind of transition. So you may only need 4, 5, 6 clients to make that transition.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's an untapped opportunity for a lot of people that are more seasoned in their career. Choosing my words carefully, because I know you're kind of on the end of that. But hey, I have a lot of experience. I still have a lot of good years ahead of me, but I don't I want more flexibility. I don't want to be tied to a traditional job, and I want to be able to travel and see family and those sorts of things. And you could do that with business coaching and still make some decent money, so you're not fully leveraging your retirement day one. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we actually have a handful of people that reach out to us for the intent of moving to some tropical area, South or Central America, and they're same time zone as in the United States. So, or time zones, I guess I should say. But they can live in Costa Rica for a fraction of the amount that would cost to live in the United States. So, $10,000 a month is it's fair, but if you've been an executive, you made $300,000-$400,000 a year, 10,000 doesn't sound like a really compelling number. When you look at what that would cost to live in Central America and some of these countries where that's a really beautiful place to live, you can get a place on the beach for a few $100,000.
Yeah,
and and literally on the beach for a few $100,000, and make a 6-figure income on 25, 30 hours a week. That seems pretty compelling to somebody who's towards the end of their career and looking to wind down a little bit, but isn't ready to sit on the beach and do nothing. Right.
Yeah,
so that is a target audience that we believe that we can tap into. And as we talk about, another category of that is our business owners who have had businesses for many years, looking to sell their business, and then they're like, okay, but I sell my business, then what am I going to do? What a great way to leverage your experience of running a business for whatever extended period of time that they did, and then do something, be of value, continue to contribute in a meaningful way, and still get paid a reasonable income for your time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think there's probably one other thing we haven't talked about, which is the advantage of using My Biz Coaches, right? If you're trying to launch your coaching business. So let's maybe talk about that. What are some of the resources and support that My Biz Coaches offers, somebody who's looking to get into business coaching for the first time or part-time, or some of the different scenarios we've looked at?
Yeah, so I could go on for probably a few hours, so I wanted to try and keep this
a couple minutes, Eric.
I'm sure you do a great job of tying me up here and keep me tied down. So first and foremost, one of the things I'm going to go through this as a series of lessons that I learned the hard way trying to get my business off the ground. When I first started, one of the mistakes I made was I went out, got a bunch of clients, doing pretty good. I'm pretty comfortable with my client load, for lack of a better term. And I'm still learning the business to some degree at this point. And one of the challenges was, okay, I've got enough clients, I got enough revenue coming in, I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at. And then through no fault of my own, I lose a few clients.
Mm-hmm.
The engagements were only short term, 3 to 6 month time frame. Sometimes that happens, right? I took a few clients early on, particularly early on, that were probably less than what I would have charged, what I should have charged for my time and efforts, because you're trying to get your business off the ground. So those are lessons, by the way. we can help you. We can help you not make those mistakes. My point is that now I lose a couple of clients and I need to replace them. Well, here's the issue. If I got to a certain point and I'm good, what is the natural tendency to do with all your marketing activity?
Stop.
Exactly. Right. You got it. So I stopped doing what I was doing to build my business, which at that time was physical networking. So face-to-face physical networking, that was the closest thing to personal sales that I had done. And that's because that's what I did my whole career. So it was easy for me to go to networking groups, meet people, sell my services, make connections, and sign people up. Well, I go 5 months of not doing that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, poop, I need to replace my clients. So I start going out and I start networking again. But it's been 5 months since these people in these networking groups have seen me.
Yeah.
So because I'm busy, and I had some other projects I was working on, and I'm like, so I didn't go out and do it. And then people are like, oh, are you that coach guy?
Yeah.
So now I got to rebuild all those relationships again and real referral partners and things like that. And one of the things that I learned about networking, whether it's online or in person, you have to show up 75% of the time. If they meet once a week, you got to show up 3 out of 4 weeks consistently before people will refer people to you or before they'll consider it retaining your services, because they got to know, they want to see that you show up.
Yeah.
If you just pop in once in a while and nobody's going to jump in with you unless they know you already, the likelihood of getting a client that way is pretty minimal. So that was a hard lesson learned, because it was like, now I got to spend the next 3 or 4 months ramping up my marketing activity to replace my clients. Oh, by the way, I'm running at a less than I anticipated for that same period of time. Right. So that was another lesson learned. So you can't turn the marketing funnel off, even if you've got all the clients you need. So then what do you do? Well, could I refer those clients to somebody else? Probably, if I had a network of people to refer them to.
Yep.
So case in point number 3, right? Okay. Now, if you have a surplus of clients, if you've done well with your marketing activity and people are reaching out to you and you don't have the time to take on those clients, have a group of people to refer them to so that you can maintain the relationship. Even though you might not get the revenue of that new client, you don't lose the ability to get new clients. And at some point, you're likely going to want to level up your client base. So if you start with clients, and let's just say for the sake of argument, you're starting with clients that are paying you $500, $1,000 a month, somewhere in that range, at some point, you're likely going to want to level up where you're $1,500 to $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
Or maybe $5,000 to $10,000 a month for one individual client. And in that particular case, now you're going to, when you do that, you'll kind of wean off your legacy clients. And if they're still with you and you need to transition off, or people are still coming to you for those legacy prices, you can refer them to somebody else that would be a better fit for them.
Right.
Unless as a coach, you can see that coming, you're not going to be prepared for any of what I just said.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you've done your due diligence, unless you're familiar with exactly what I'm talking about, you won't be prepared for any of that. At My Biz Coaches, that's what we built. We build a community of coaches where we can use each other, benefit from one another, refer people to back and forth to one another. And there's a lot of value in that relationship, or those relationships, I should say. And then another piece is, I recognize I'm not the flavor for everybody. And David, you might be surprised that I say that.
Yeah.
But
I'm shocked right now, Eric. I'm speechless. I don't know what to
you're
say.
shocked that I admitted that?
No.
But in reality, I have a certain style and personality that you're very familiar with. Many of the people who ever worked with me in the past are very familiar with it. And it's good for a certain group of people. It's not ideal for everybody. And I get that. So if somebody introduces somebody to me and they're outside my style
profile,
there you go. Excellent terminology. Then I would be happy to refer them to somebody they'd probably be happier working with.
Yeah.
Right. Because one, it shows my level of professionalism. I recognize that if we work together, you're probably likely not going to appreciate my style, and it's probably better for me to introduce you to somebody that you'll get more value from the relationship. Again, without a stable of other coaches that you can comfortably refer people to, you miss the opportunity to be able to do that. And so there's a lot of pieces, over the years, and I'm touching on the marketing, which is a big one. I'll take marketing one step further. I did virtually no digital marketing because I didn't know anything about digital marketing. As a matter of fact, you've heard my story before. I took on a marketing agency, a digital marketing agency, as a client, as a trade of service, just so I could learn about the digital marketing space. That was 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, very familiar with the space, much more so than I was then. Certainly wouldn't consider myself an expert, but we are beginning to offer marketing solutions for our clients. So much so that, as you know, we're expanding our services to incorporate video work, social media solutions and things like that, as well as we've invested into a CRM that we can actually help provide additional solutions for our clients. These are all pieces that, as I did the research and did the due diligence, and I brought other people in to help us with that, we are now offering that to the coaches that work with us. So the added benefit that they get is they don't have to go figure these things out for themselves. We're bringing these tools to the table for them. So whether it's relationships, whether it's connections, strategy, sometimes it's even just a voice of reason. Sometimes it's just being able to share concerns. That was another post that I did today. Is that what's one of the bigger challenges of being a coach on your own? Actually, I shared it yesterday in a networking group, and the number 68% of people that are solopreneurs, coaches fall in that space, 68% acknowledge that isolation is one of the biggest challenges of being self-employed.
Yep.
Not having somebody else to talk to, or more specifically, that can relate to what you're going through. Right? Talking to somebody is one thing, but talking to somebody who can relate to what you're going through is a completely different conversation. Yeah. And, self-employed, trying to struggle with marketing, but struggling with marketing, struggling with client engagement, whatever those challenges may be, but having somebody you can share those best practices with and get ideas from, and maybe just gripe to occasionally, right? All of those are valuable. And to that point, that's another benefit that my biz coaches were providing for these individuals when they go out and do this. So instead of kind of going out there and doing what I did, and honestly, the best thing that I can say for myself that allowed me to be successful in this space was the fact that I failed forward fast. You remember the days when I did I've talked about the interviews that I did, and I did 96 interviews in 75 days, or the networking. I did 54 events in 78 days, or whatever it was.
Right. Yep.
Right. I did a lot in a short period of time to learn as quick as I could what was going to get me the best results.
Yep.
And even the LinkedIn, when I started the LinkedIn campaigns back in August of last year, I was doing 1 post a day and wasn't seeing a lot of results, but I started doing 5 posts a day and started getting amazing results. But the point is that I was able to learn a lot really fast. Now, that's great for me. How would you like to not have to learn the way that I had to learn?
Right.
I invested that time and energy in doing that. You, as a potential coach, get to benefit from the time and energy that I've spent, or that my team has spent, learning these different discipline skills and just tricks of the trade, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I know it's kind of a long-winded answer, but it's probably the best way I can kind of share is just kind of giving some perspective on some of the challenges I had to struggle through, that we're solving for other coaches.
Yeah, and I think when somebody becomes a My Biz Coach, there's also some other things that they can benefit from, right? I'm thinking about, you've got some self-paced learning that's available to coaches and clients. You've got software, right, which is amazingly helpful, and group coaching. And maybe just take a minute and talk to us about how the group coaching works.
Glad you mentioned the group coaching. Yeah. So one of the things, I can't take all the credit for this, but I'm not going to give him credit on the show. But
he who remain unnamed.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a component there that when I first started trying to offer group coaching, I ran into the same problem that everybody, and there's a group that I associated with early on, that they were all going through the same challenge, which was, you can offer group coaching all day long. You offer it at a discount based on the idea that you're going to have X number of people. So for instance, if I charge $1,000 a month for a one-on-one engagement, and I offer group coaching at $200 a month, then I need 5 people to justify the same rate, right? So you make the same $1,000 an hour, or $1,000 for an engagement. Well, you don't have a group until you have a group.
Right.
So
Yep.
you sign up your first person, which I started at $97 a month, and you sign up your first person at $97 a month. And the problem you have is, you've only got one person in that group.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there going, well, this is awesome. Why would I pay you $1,000 a month if I can sit here and get it one-on-one for $97 a month?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was again, yet another learning lesson, right? I have 2 years worth of content that I can provide to people, all divvied up and ready to go. And I've got one person sitting in my group coaching session for weeks.
Yeah. Well, and how hard is it to get 10 people to sign up, for
Within
one
the same,
call? Yeah, at the same time,
yeah,
right? Because then
yeah,
you get schedules, and well, I can't do that time. Oh, and then you're like, I'm not running 7 calls. So,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll have 10 people and I'll have 7 calls, 2 people
yeah,
in one call, and,
yeah,
and 8
exactly.
other calls with one person in them. But yeah, so the problem was exactly all of that you just mentioned. So what we've done is we provide the group coaching on behalf of the coaches, and then a coach can offer that solution to a client that doesn't maybe fit their mix, right? And so, like, hey, you're only doing 250,000 a year in gross revenue. You likely can't afford my $1,000 a month. I would encourage you not to pay me $1,000 a month because I don't think it's affordable. However, we have group coaching at $97 a month, which is what we're currently launching with on April 1st. That's our big push. So we're going to really go hard and heavy on that for some period of time. Not sure how long that's going to be yet, but a coach can refer somebody into that and get a referral commission from that on a monthly basis for introducing that client. And then we've also created what we call a hybrid solution. So that monthly coaching client may determine, hey, I could use some one-on-one time. I just can't afford a steady one-on-one relationship. So we do something like $297, and you get an hour of my time, and you get your weekly coaching call as well. So, and you get that hour once a month with me where we go through and talk specifically about what you've been learning over the last 4 weeks and review how it relates to your business. So it's a nice little hybrid solution that we created for those smaller businesses.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because that's a great point. 91% of small businesses are not generating $1 million a year in revenue.
Right.
So the vast majority of businesses out there are likely not going to be able to afford our one-on-one coaching solutions.
Yeah.
Right. So to that point, what a great way to be able to help all those clients potentially build their businesses with the same information, just delivered in a group fashion or some kind of hybrid solution. So all of those coaches can then benefit from that. It's still their client. They're still getting referral commission from it. And when the client decides, hey, I'm ready for a full-on one-on-one solution, they transition to that coach entirely, and they move along with that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a big learning lesson for me as well. Like I said, it's every one of these solutions that we've created for the coaches is an extension of challenges that I struggled with while I was trying to build the business. And that was yet another one, right? It was a great opportunity to be able to provide that. But I had to figure out how to do it cost effectively and still make it of value for the client. So they actually felt like it was worth it for the time that they were spending and the money they were spending.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, a lot of great insights. Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Did want to share, yeah, because as we launched this, one of the things that when we put a big push on this, one of the things I want to share is we've also spent the time, yet again, learn lesson, relationships that are potentially financially beneficial by introducing your clients to these. So for instance, it could be affiliate programs, it could be partnerships. It's a number of different solutions that are viable here. And we've developed 76 different relationships that we pass on to our coaches that they can then pass on to their clients and get paid some type of commission for. So some of them are, or they can offer it as a discounted service. That's another option that they can do. But the idea is that they can, for instance, if a coach has a client and they need some type of payroll service, we have a handful of different payroll companies that we provide, make available. And so that client takes on the payroll service and there's some kind of residual commission. It's not significant, but it's something for making that introduction, which is basically how we work in this space. And anybody in the professional services space, either getting leads through referrals or they're generating additional income through referrals. Right. So, that can be pretty meaningful. Like with the ERC tax credit, we worked with one client and got them $300,000 back, and we got back $12,000.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a nice commission for putting the time and energy in to make the introduction to help the client the way you would have helped them. Doesn't cost them any more, and you get a financial benefit from as well. So we've created over 76 different alliances that we make available to the coaches to be able to provide. Now, not every client's going to need all 76. Certainly, nobody's going to need all 76.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3.
But yeah, 2 or 3 potentially over the time that they spend with the client. It also then allows you to be that much more valuable to your client when there's solutions and services that you may or may not be able to provide. You make the introduction, and then that, like bookkeeping is it's an easy solution to be able to make the introduction and get paid a referral commission for it.
Yeah, especially as a new coach, right? You don't have that network to leverage. Those existing alliances really helps.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, good stuff, Eric. Some great insights today. Appreciate you sharing it with the audience. I know I already asked you once, but anything else you want to share about what's coming up in April with My Biz Coaches, or you already covered it?
No, we just have the big launch coming on April 1, and we've been doing it slowly, introducing it. We're excited about the big push that'll be coming April 1. Many of the pieces will be in place to fully automate our launch and get it ready to have everybody running. But and then we're going to do a huge push on recruiting for coaches as we look to bring on a number of new coaches over the course of the year.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, Eric. If you have watched this, if you listen to this and it sparked your interest, you want to learn more about becoming a coach, you want to spend some time with Eric or somebody at My Biz Coaches talking about it, seeing if it's right for you. What does it look like? What does it cost to become a coach, right? What does it cost to become affiliated with My Biz Coaches? Stay tuned. At the end, we'll have the link, the QR code. You can scan it. Schedule a call. Doesn't cost you anything to talk to, Eric or one of the coaches. Learn more about it. Learn more about the service that they offer for coaches and how you can leverage that to build your coaching business. So, Eric, as always, appreciate your time. And to our audience, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks, David.
See ya.